Do you want to know why your child yells at you and what to do instead of yelling back? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, how to build strong family bonds, all through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about how to stop that yelling. In this video, we're going to be talking about why they're yelling at you. Sometimes it's important to know the reason behind the yelling. Then we're going to talk about some things that you can keep in mind so that you don't engage in a power struggle, which is not going to help you, and what you can do instead. Have you ever had your child yell something at you? Something like, "You're so mean," or "I hate you," or "You never listen to me," or "You don't understand." Those statements can bring out the worst in us, meaning that they can put us in the wrong brain, so that suddenly we're so worried about the emotional outburst that just happened, the way that the person is feeling, that we don't actually get to the root cause. So actually, underneath that yelling, underneath those dramatic remarks that they're throwing at you to try to push a button most of the time, there is a root cause. There's something under there that they're trying to get you to understand. Oftentimes, when a person is doing this type of yelling, it's because they feel powerless. They feel like they're worried that nobody's going to understand them. They feel like someone is attacking them, or someone does not want to take the time to understand where they're coming from. Another reason that people often yell at others is because they're in the stress part of their brain. When a person is in the front part of their brain, the prefrontal cortex, they have 100% cognitive ability to solve their problems. But when they are in the midbrain, their ability to solve problems goes down to about 40% ability. So this is your amygdala part of the brain. This is your stress part of the brain. This is when you're starting to lose control. When a person is yelling at you, they are oftentimes still forming what seems like coherent arguments. That means they're in midbrain, they're in a stressed part of their brain. But if they do not feel like that you understand or that they're getting through to you, they'll start to panic. It gets worse and worse. Then the yelling will hit a higher point where suddenly they don't even know what they're saying. It seems like the statements they're making are irrelevant. They're not actually getting through to anybody. And you might be saying to yourself, did you really think that was going to work? No, they didn't. They didn't think at all. When they're in back brain, which is the fight, flight, or freeze part of the brain, way at the back, the oldest part of the brain, that is the part of the brain where they have maybe 10% ability to think. Now they are just emotionally downloading. The chemicals in their brain have changed, and they suddenly feel like there is no hope. There's no way to get through to another person. So what can we do instead? We can let them know that we understand. We can let them know that we want to understand. There are two things that we can do to get that message across. We can have a certain type of a structure that they understand, that they know what it means when we start using that structure, and we can have a certain type of a tone. So I teach self-government. What is self-government? Self-government is being able to determine the cause and effect of any given situation and possessing a knowledge of your own behaviors so that you can control them. When a person is self-governed, they have a certain type of a tone, which should be a calm tone, and then a certain type of a structure. Now I know that saying that you have a calm tone is easier said than done. Some of us don't even recognize when we are not being calm. And this is because we oftentimes get triggered by another person's yelling. When we're triggered by another person's yelling, this can make it so that we inadvertently fall into a power struggle. That's right. When you are power struggling with another person, that means you allowed your buttons to be pushed. You didn't maintain your own self-regulation, your own calmness, and all things will start to fall apart before your very eyes. If you fall into a power struggle and you start to become emotionally dysregulated, just like your child is, there will be a ripple effect. It will go back and forth. This is actually the recipe for a power struggle. Parents can start power struggles and children or teens can start power struggles too. So we need to make sure that we recognize when we are falling into that power struggle trap. This means that we need to have a plan ahead of time. So what should you do instead of yelling? Here's your solution. Before you engage in that power struggle that has just been presented to you on a silver platter, you need to go back to your plan. Wait, what? You don't have a plan? Well, that's where I come in. So we can plan out exactly what we want to do and say in any moment of a power struggle. For many years, I took in treatment children. They were all troubled teens between the ages of 12 and 18. So could they have an attitude problem? Could they fight back? Oh yes, they were level 3 treatment children, the one that many other people did not want to take into their homes. So what did I do to help them find calmness? Because that was my number one goal. I made sure that they knew every word that I would say in any teaching interaction before I ever used those words. So creating your own calmness plan is going to help you stay the course for your own calmness. What words will you say? And plan those ones as opposed to thinking about what you will not say. The more you think about what you will not say, the more you might actually say that. So instead, have a plan where you actually follow a script. Now, you may think, I don't want to be that planned. I don't want to have a script. But guess what? Having a script is something you already have. Every time you fall into a power struggle, you are saying the same things. You've scripted yourself. You're a robot. So why wouldn't we wisely decide how we want to be scripted to allow ourselves to stay calm and them to be calm too? It just makes sense, right? So here are a few things that you can start to say when they start yelling at you so that you don't fall into the power struggle. Now, I'm not going to share with you the entire script for correction, which you do need to know. I'll share that in my next video. But in this video, what I'd like you to really understand is 3 powerful things that you can do at the beginning of a correction to make sure that they know you understand. Step number 1 is to look at them and really care. Think, I love you. I really care. They can feel that. It's a tone that you carry with you. Then give them a statement that shows them that you are seeking to understand. Say to them something like, I understand that this is something you feel really passionate about, and I want to talk about that. Share with them that you are fully invested in understanding what they have to say. You may even say to them something like, I understand that you don't want to go to bed on time because you want to see the end of this program, but first, we need to get calm. So this brings me to the third thing. Do they understand what calmness is and what it isn't? Do they know when they're being calm and when they're not? Well, you need to pre-teach that ahead of time. And then in this moment, you can use this third step. You can say, after you say, I understand, or I know that you don't want to go to bed right now because, but we need to choose to be calm first. Then we can talk about this. You've got to point them in the direction of calmness. You need to explain to them that what you are seeing is not calm. And instead of arguing with them about their attitude or their demeanor, the best thing you can do is say, I know you want to get there. I want to get there with you, but we've got to be calm first. That means that your number 1 rule is you will not talk about it until they are calm. Why? Because they're not going to be able to calmly talk about it and solve their problem if they're not in the front brain. You've got to get them to front brain, which means the first stop is calmness. So you need to have a calm plan. I actually have a Calm Parenting Toolkit you can get for free. It's in the description below this video if you want to go to that. And also, I have another video that's going to go into the process for how to correct your children. It's going to give you more of those exact words in the script so that you have a plan. So if you've enjoyed this video, go to my next video. That video is called The #1 Tool That Ends Power Struggles Without Punishment. I'll see you there.